Some of the worst financial headlines in history were followed, years later, by some of the best returns long-term investors ever experienced. That sentence sounds contradictory, but it isn't. It's actually one of the most consistent patterns in market history, and almost nobody explains it clearly to beginners. Let's start with the problem. When most people picture a stock market crash, they picture disaster. Wiped out savings, ruined retirements, financial devastation. And for a specific group of investors, that fear is real. But for a different group, the long-term, diversified investor who doesn't sell during the panic, history tells a very different story. Understanding the difference between these two outcomes is one of the most valuable lessons in all of investing. Here's why most people get this wrong. They confuse a market decline with a permanent loss. These are not the same thing. A market decline means the value of your investments has temporarily dropped. A permanent loss means you've actually locked that drop in by selling. Until you sell, a decline is just a number on a screen, uncomfortable to look at, but not yet a real financial outcome. Let's break down the financial explanation behind why this distinction matters so much. When you invest in a diversified index fund, a fund that holds small pieces of hundreds of companies rather than betting on just one, you're not betting on a single business surviving a downturn. You're betting on the long-term growth of the broader economy. Individual companies can fail permanently. A diversified basket of hundreds of companies collapsing entirely and never recovering is a fundamentally different, and historically far rarer, scenario. Here's where compound interest becomes relevant, even during a crash. Compound interest means your returns generate their own additional returns over time, which is why growth tends to accelerate the longer money stays invested. A crash doesn't erase this mechanism. It temporarily pauses the visible upward curve, but for an investor who stays invested, the underlying shares they own don't disappear. They're still there, still owned, simply valued lower for a period of time, until the recovery process plays out. Let's look at real historical examples to make this concrete, understanding that past performance never guarantees future results. During the 2008 financial crisis, the S&P 500, an index tracking 500 of the largest publicly traded companies in the United States, fell by roughly 50% from its peak. That's a genuinely severe decline. Investors who sold near the bottom locked in devastating losses permanently. But investors who held their diversified investments through the downturn saw the market recover fully within about 4 years, and go on to significantly exceed its previous highs in the years that followed. The same pattern showed up again in March 2020. Markets fell more than 30% in a matter of weeks as uncertainty spread rapidly worldwide. It felt, in the moment, like an unprecedented collapse. Yet within about 5 months, the market had recovered those losses entirely. Someone who panicked and sold during that specific window locked in a loss that reversed itself faster than a typical school semester. Here's a real-world example that makes the long-term picture even clearer. Imagine an investor who put money into a diversified index fund decades ago and simply left it alone through every major downturn since 1987, the dot-com crash in the early 2000s, 2008, and 2020. Despite living through several of the most severe market declines in modern history, that long-term, diversified position has historically gone on to grow substantially over those multi-decade periods, not because the crashes didn't happen, but because the investor's timeline was long enough to absorb them without needing to sell during the worst moments. This brings us to a common myth worth addressing directly, the belief that avoiding crashes entirely, by predicting them and selling beforehand, is what separates successful investors from unsuccessful ones. This sounds logical, but it's nearly impossible to execute reliably. Timing the market this way requires being right twice, correctly predicting when to sell before the crash, and correctly predicting when to buy back in near the bottom. Professional fund managers, with entire teams and decades of data at their disposal, consistently struggle to do this reliably. If highly trained professionals can't consistently time the market successfully, the odds aren't meaningfully better for an individual investor attempting the same thing. So why don't crashes actually hurt long-term investors the way headlines suggest they should? The answer comes down to two combined factors: diversification and time. Diversification means spreading your money across many different investments instead of concentrating it in just one. A crash affects the price of many companies simultaneously, but it doesn't mean every company inside a diversified fund fails permanently. Historically, broad, diversified markets have recovered from every major downturn on record, even though the timeline for each specific recovery has varied, and future recoveries are never guaranteed to follow the exact same pattern. Time is the second factor, and it matters just as much. A short-term investor who needs their money within the next year or two genuinely can be hurt by a crash, because they may not have enough time for a recovery to play out before they need to withdraw. But a long-term investor, someone who won't need that specific money for many years or even decades, has something the short-term investor doesn't: the ability to simply wait. Historically, that waiting period, however uncomfortable it felt in the moment, has been the difference between a temporary paper loss and a permanent, locked-in one. Let's talk about the actionable strategy that comes directly out of this pattern. The first step is dollar-cost averaging, meaning you invest a fixed amount on a regular schedule, regardless of whether the market is up or down. This approach means that during a crash, you're not frozen in fear. You're actually continuing to buy shares at lower prices than before, which historically has benefited long-term investors once the market eventually recovers, though this depends on staying consistent through the uncomfortable periods rather than pausing contributions out of fear. The second step is understanding your own investing timeline clearly before a crash happens, not during one. Money you'll need within the next few years shouldn't be exposed to the same volatility as money you won't touch for decades. Knowing this distinction in advance prevents a genuine emergency from colliding with a market downturn, which is often what actually forces people into selling at the worst possible moment. The third step, and perhaps the most important one, is deciding your response to a future crash while you're calm, not while you're panicked. Something like, if my portfolio drops significantly, I will not sell, because I understand that diversified markets have historically recovered from every major decline given enough time. Deciding this in advance means your past, rational self is making the decision, instead of your future, frightened self making it under pressure. Here's the key insight most people miss entirely. Volatility, the natural ups and downs in the market, isn't evidence that something has gone wrong. It's the mechanism through which long-term returns are generated in the first place. If markets never declined, they likely wouldn't offer the higher long-term returns that come specifically from investors being willing to tolerate that discomfort. The crash itself isn't the threat to a long-term investor's wealth. The reaction to it is. Think about this from a different angle. If you knew with complete certainty that the market would be significantly higher 10 years from now than it is today, would a temporary decline next month actually change your behavior? Probably not. The fear crashes create doesn't come from the decline itself. It comes from uncertainty about whether the recovery will happen. History provides substantial evidence, though never a guarantee, that diversified markets have recovered from every major decline so far, given enough time for that process to play out. So here's your actionable takeaway. The next time market headlines turn frightening, remind yourself of one simple distinction: a decline only becomes a permanent loss if you sell during it. If your investing timeline is genuinely long-term, and your portfolio is diversified rather than concentrated in a single company, historically, staying invested through the discomfort has been far more valuable than trying to escape it and time a perfect return. The biggest crashes in market history didn't ultimately hurt long-term investors because those investors avoided the decline. They didn't. The crashes hurt the investors who turned a temporary decline into a permanent one by selling at exactly the wrong moment. If you want to learn more about investing, wealth building, and financial freedom, subscribe to Finance Lab and turn on notifications.